Ooh, backfire. Hey everybody. Finally putting up another vlog. It's been quite a while since I did one of these. If I had to guess, without looking at my YouTube, probably 3 weeks or so. It's been a rough 3 weeks, put it that way. I've barely ridden this bike in that 3 weeks. I've been dealing with some frustrations with my KLR, and I'm at the point where I've pretty much, I think, bailed on the Mexico trip, and I've pretty much given up on the KLR. As you guys know, it was running pretty well for its age and mileage, and I was doing maintenance on it, you know, getting it up to my standards as far as maintenance goes, like brakes and brake pads and fluids. And the last thing that I had to do, or the last two things, maintenance wise, was the oil, which includes the filter, and also the doohickey mod, and basically the balance sprocket. Ooh, backfire. And the latter, the doohickey mod, was only because I was, you know, for all intents and purposes, I was talked into it by the forum community and just reading online. I was convinced that I should do it. The bike ran fine without it, but I was, you know, basically, there's a broken taillight here. I was convinced I should do it, so I bought the parts, which was like $350 worth of parts, between Eagle Mike's lever kit and all the other stuff. But I bought the parts, and I took off the left cover, which is, you know, where the stator is. And after looking at it, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do it. It looks way too complicated. I don't want to screw anything up. So all I literally did was drain the oil and put the cover back on and refill the oil. And ever since then, I don't know what happened, but the KLR refuses to start. And I did notice that the second time when I pulled the cover off to reinvestigate, that the wiring harness for the stator, the bigger harness, because there's two of them that come out of there, I think one goes to like the neutral switch or something. The one that goes to the actual stator itself, one of the wires near the case was cut in half, and I'm thinking it was a bad soldering job or soldering job by the previous owners, or maybe the owner before that. I don't know how many it's had. And then when I was taking the cover off, I must have broken the joint and it cracked and whatever. So I bought a whole new stator. I replaced it. It had its own wiring harness, so no cut wires, nothing. And the bike still won't start. So at that point, I mean, I don't know what else to look at. I checked spark plugs, you know. The fuses look good. There's only two, I think, that I could find. They don't look like they're broken. They're those glass long ones, you know. I might still replace them just because they're probably like 10 cents each, you know, dirt cheap. So I might still go ahead and do that just for S&Gs. But basically, I don't know what happened to this thing. And if it was a stator, you know, that I did something to and I was putting it back on, the new one should be fine because it's brand freaking new. But it just cranks and cranks and cranks to the point where the battery ends up dying. But the bike will not start. I did manage one time to get it started. And that was like, I was starting it for like 15 minutes, just cranking it. Finally, I could hear it catching more and more, and I just kept it on start for like a good minute, and it finally caught. And that day that happened was like 3 days afterwards. I rode around the property for probably 3-4 minutes. Did like three laps around that property, and then I let it idle because I figured it would let the battery kind of recharge. And I went inside the house for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes most, probably more like 5 or so. And when I came out, I'm going to go that way later, but when I came out, because of the sticking carb or sticking choke or whatever it is, because sometimes like when I'm hooked to a light, it's idling at like 3,000 versus some other times when it's at 1,000. But anyway, so the RPMs were quite high. They were like 4,400, which is probably the middle of the RPM range in that thing. So I immediately turned it off. The bike was very hot. And out of the back undertail area, not the exhaust. Pretty sure it was not the exhaust. But the actual undertail, I noticed water or some kind of liquid coming out. And it didn't smell like anything, but it was definitely like from the plastic. So I thought at the time that it was just water that was trapped in the tail area section, and all the vibration of the high RPM just kind of loosened it or whatever. So I turned the bike off and I couldn't get it started again, so I stored it. And then like a couple days later, I was looking at the case again, and I noticed that the radiator hoses were sucked in, like vacuum, they were basically collapsed, which means I had no coolant. So I don't know where the coolant went. It didn't go into the oil, because the oil was always, even when I just removed it recently to change the hoses and fix the cover one more time because I had a little oil leak. The oil is oil. There's no mixture of coolant in it. It's not like that milky color that that I've heard on various forums when people blow a motor or whatever, So I don't think anything's blown, but at this point, and so many days and so many weeks, I've kind of getting like so frustrated with it where I can't remember all the details exactly straight. So if any of you guys have any tips on how to get this thing started and running so I can sell the stupid thing, definitely let me know. As far as I know, air is fine, fuel should be fine, spark is fine. There's probably a cop ahead. Yeah, there's definitely something ahead. So I'm just, there he is. I'm just crazy frustrated right now. So if any of you guys are good with older bikes like that, and you know a thing or two, please help a brother out. Because I want to get rid of this thing. I'm done with it. There's a reason why I buy bikes that are new, or slightly used with like 1,000 or 2,000 miles on them. Like my two Ninjas and this thing, and they're all 2013s all across the board. Even my cars. There's a reason why I buy them certified used or off lease, because I'll let somebody else take the hit on appreciation, or depreciation I should say, and that way I don't got to deal with the loss. But I buy them so I know their history, I know their maintenance, I know from a very young age, so to speak, how it's been maintained. This bike, I have no idea who maintained it. I have no idea how long the oil was in there. You know what I mean? And that kind of crap, it scares me, because you don't know the history of the machine. And you can do all the maintenance you want, but if the internals have already been damaged, eventually you're going to be the one stuck with the problem. So even if I do get it running, I don't feel comfortable taking it to Mexico, because for all I know, the doohickey will blow up on my face, you know what I mean? And actually, speaking of the doohickey, I did end up trying to do that mod. I got the rotor retainer bolt out, but I could not get the rotor loose. And I followed Kenny Raceboy. I don't know if you guys know of him, but he's a YouTube guy with a KLR. I followed his video to a T, and his came off like no problem. Mine, I almost bent my breaker bar. That's how tight it is. So I gave up on that. That's actually why I took off the cover a second time, and how I noticed my hoses were basically, you know, no coolant. But man, this bike has been giving me the business, man. So the other day I did install new hoses. I installed a new coolant reservoir because I noticed mine had a little leak. But that wouldn't have contributed to the coolant disappearing. You know, so that coolant thing is another red flag. Like, I don't know where it went, but if it was coming out of the exhaust, then that's, you know, then you would know where it went. But I'm pretty sure the fluid coming out of the rear tire when I came out that one time when it was idling was not from the exhaust. The exhaust wasn't wet, it wasn't spewing anything. But the coolant went somewhere. And I've since reinstalled the, you know, put new hoses on and refilled it with the coolant, and the coolant's fine, it's still there. So it's not like it's dripping out anywhere, it's only when it's running is the last time that I noticed. But I don't know, man, it's just, this bike is, you know. So at this point, like, I'm probably gonna lose money on it, but I'd rather lose money on it than have the engine blow up me while I'm riding and, you know, kill me or something. You know, if it blows, I mean, I don't even know what happens when the motorcycle engine blows. You know, if it does something to the back of the engine and, like, the chain comes off by some weird happenstance, you know, that's you know, like, who knows what's gonna happen. So I'm just, as you guys can see, this vlog is very depressing for me and for you, I'm sure. But it's been crazy. So that's all I had on my mind today and the last few weeks. Otherwise, it's been a pretty good summer, man. I mean, I've been having fun. I've been going swimming in, like, a diving hole. For those of you guys who live in the country, you know, like Australia, I know some of you guys are probably from Australia, some of you guys are from the South. You know, if you live in the sticks like I do, there's a lot of places where people go cliff jumping and rope swinging and all kinds of stuff like that. So I've been doing that, been having a pretty good time. Just this bike stuff is just putting a damper on my whole summer. So I'm finally, now that I'm done with that bike, I put it back together, put the hoses on. I'm just basically, I put it under my cover, and I'm not touching it again until somebody either buys it on Craigslist or somebody gives me some serious guidance on how to fix it, because I have no clue what to do with it. So I'm done with it. I'm riding this thing here and out, focusing on this bike again. I gotta wash it soon. Gotta leave the chain and stuff on it again. So I'm moving on, man, basically. You know, work's good. I got a mini promotion without a raise, though. One of our database admins left, so I've kind of been pigeonholed into filling in that role. So I don't know, it may lead to a permanent position in the database team, or I'm looking actually at getting hired full-time for the job that I was in. Because I'm a contractor right now, so they're looking to extend me to full-time. So work is good, everything's good, but the stupid bike. That's the bottom line. I just gotta exhale, enjoy this nice scenery, nice weather. It's been really hot and humid here, guys. Like 90s, straight up 90s, which is, for upstate New York, is rare. We're usually in the high 70s, low 80s. Like, I'm sweating riding right now. I'm moving and I'm still sweating. That's how humid it is right now. And it's like 85. But yeah, that's been my last couple of weeks. You guys are all caught up pretty much. So, I will say see ya. Ride safe. Be safe, whatever you do. Keep it shiny side up, as they say. Alright, guys, and I'll do another couple minutes of riding here. Maybe I'll go on some back roads right here. Later.